And
Yeah,
again,
really
thank you very much.
appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Is it Dan? Is it Dan that I'm talking to here?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, my name's
Yeah,
Dan.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good to meet you. Good to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you as
Yeah.
well.
Wasn't really expecting this on a Sunday evening, but there you go. Um,
Maria,
obviously, there's been a lot of concern around Crewe with this cult that's shown up, and I think the thing is, very few people realise that the cult that I escaped, Plymouth Brethren Christian Church, are living right under their noses,
hmm
Yeah,
and
brilliant.
and I, and I think that's what shocks a lot of people in the UK whenever I tell my story is what this is UK, it's not America. No, it is. It's right in the UK, and it's right in Crewe. Um, so yeah, so just a little introduction to myself. I'm Maria Compton, and I really thank you for the invite. I was born into the what was it was then known as the Exclusive Brethren. I'll explain a little bit about the rebranding in a bit, but I was born into the Exclusive Brethren actually as fourth generation. So my parents, and their parents before them, all born into the cult. So that's why, yeah, we were unchosen, if you like, if you want to use the Netflix um, movie name. We didn't have a choice. Um, so yeah, just also a little bit of background about the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. They were actually started in the mid 1800s in Dublin, and by a man called James Nelson Darby. Sorry, John Nelson Darby. I better get that right. And yeah, I suppose then, was it a cult? There was cult-like things about it, but I think really in the mid to late 50s, when the new leader came in, who was a man called Jim Taylor from America, I think it was from then really that it became more cult-like, and that he brought in all these rules. Um, the main thing that he brought in, which is affects the members to this day and affects ex-members to this day, was the rule of separation. So they believe that everybody outside of their religion is evil. So they have to keep separate from the evil world. And that that goes for everything, right down to socializing, eating with, going and playing in your next door neighbour's garden as a kid. All of those things we were never allowed to do because of separation. One of the other fundamental things I think that's really important is around that time also a new rule was brought in where children were given communion, so there wasn't a choice. So you're automatically, I would like to use the word, my opinion, um, forced to take communion from as young as 6 months old. We're talking about we're talking about a gulp of wine. We're not talking about some artificial stuff. We're talking about an actual piece of bread and a gulp of wine every Sunday morning. And I know I shouldn't carry a guilt about that because I was doing what I thought was right, but I often think about that I did that with my children. And not not realizing how wrong it was and how wrong it is. And that's just two things that are making this so cult like. Well, it is a cult. It's not even cult like. It is a cult. Um, yeah, just the other thing I just like to mention is these these people are very rich, have become very rich. The current leader is an Australian Sydney based businessman. Does he even know his Bible? I'm not so sure. Um, I would doubt a lot of what he has brought in is to do with business, and the whole thing in the last 20 plus years has been run as a business. And that is what's made it so much harder for people to leave. Especially, I feel, the young married men, the young couples, they're so tied up in it. They're tied up with business. You have to work for them. You can't work outside of it. You're tied up. The children are tied up in schools. I think they go to primary school nowadays, normal mainstream school for 2 years, and then beyond that, it's within the system. So yeah, to leave is really difficult. For myself, yeah, people ask me what was the breaking point for me, and I think you find this with a lot of people that leave, that have the courage to leave. That, well, it doesn't feel like courage at the time, to be honest, but I think really you have to get to that point almost. Certainly, I did, of life or death. And for me, well, if you read my book, you'll read about what actually happened. But that's the point I came to, was, do I end this all? Because I just couldn't. I couldn't go on. Number one, I was living in an abusive marriage. Number two, I couldn't live in that system anymore. It was killing me. It was living a lie. I was pretending I was this good wife, going to church every day, 5 times on a Sunday, doing all the entertaining, looking after the kids. And I just couldn't do it anymore. But there was something that day that told me that there is a life outside of it. And yeah, that's what made me turn around from what I was about to do and choose that life. And I think once I came to that decision, that's where the power came from. But I don't take any credit for being strong or anything. There was something that told me that there is another way. Yeah, I don't know. Do you want me to continue talking about that, or would you like to hear a little bit about my childhood, or what would you like to hear? I don't want to.
Thank you very, very much for that. I suppose little insight into your life. It's a very good introduction, I would say. Thank you very, very much for sharing that with us. I think some of us will probably want to know, after everything that's happened, what made you want to share your story? What's made you write this or author this?
Yeah, good question. To be honest, the first reason I wanted to write it was for my own therapeutic gain, really. But once I started writing it, I realized that it had to get out there. People do need to know that this is happening right under their noses. People say, why is this still going on? Why is it still going on? That is a question I ask all the time. Why is it still happening? Why are these people not being stopped? Why is there people in there committing suicide? But there is. I've had 3 close friends in there over the last 10 years who committed suicide. Why? Why is that still being allowed to happen? Why is the leader, these are the words of the leader, in relation to somebody wanting or having contact with somebody in the outside world. So if you imagine it was my kids contacting me, somebody that had left, the world leader said in public meeting, in one of their meetings, that it would be better to take cyanide or rat poison than to do that.
I'm sorry, they've said that directly to people?
Yeah, yes. You can actually, if you go and look up the Sydney Herald, it's actually an article on it in there. But I actually read it myself where he said it. So why you can understand why my children are scared to contact me, even though they're now in their 30s, 20s and 30s. The fear that is put in them the unbelievable fear that is put in them. Yeah, if they do that, and the fact that I do speak out obviously makes me what they call apostate. Yeah. So I'm looked upon as somebody even more evil. Yeah.
And looking back, were there aspects of your upbringing that you did value?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I had an unhappy childhood. Um, my parents, brought us up well, and I always say, even after I left, I used to say to them, I haven't thrown everything away that you taught me. There's lots of good, but the fundamental control and rules and regulations is what's wrong, and the no choice, not having a choice. I remember my dad saying that to me after I left, but you don't have a choice. This is where God put you. You don't have a choice. Yes, I do have a choice. Whether God gives me choice or whatever it is, we all have a choice, and we should be free to choose.
And how do you feel your children interpret those messages given by the leader of the Brethren? You touched upon how they might be scared to talk to you. So it's not a case of you've left and they see what you've done is bad and they don't want to talk to you. Obviously, you're the mother. Surely they must love you. So is it more as a case
Yeah,
of they can't?
It's actually my youngest son used the word torn. He's torn because he loves me, but because I speak out or I've left, he can't have anything to do with me. It's not, they all love me. I know that. It's the same as my parents who are still alive. I know they love me, but they feel that it's through fear really. Most of it is fear. Fear. Often it's fear of God's punishment. It's not even fear of, say, the elders punishing you or things like that. It's fear. There's a massive fear of God's punishment. I'm not sure how many are aware that are on the live tonight, but I'm actually suffering from stage 4 cancer. And a year after I left was my first brush with cancer. Well, you could just imagine what was said at that time. That was, my dad said, well, I won't use the word punishment, but it's God. So obviously, the more I go on.
And you're taught this from a child. This is something that's
absolutely
indoctrinated from a child.
Yeah.
And you've spoken about living with the fear of God and the rapture also.
Yes.
Could you explain what it's like, what it was like growing up with that rhetoric and indoctrination?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, to explain the rapture a little bit, is that's a belief where they believe that the brethren are Christ's bride, and the rapture is that he'll come and lift. It sounds ridiculous, but this is what we believe. He'll come on a cloud and take them up to heaven, and they'll be raptured, and then for 1,000 years they will rule the world along with Jesus. So that's the rapture. But if you're not ready, you'll be left behind. And if you're left behind, there's going to be all these wars and floods and tribulations. And so from the age of about 4 is when I can first remember hearing the words the rapture and being absolutely petrified. Again, you can read about it more in my book, but that fear, actually, I would say that fear carried through even after I left.
How did those beliefs affect you as a child?
Nightmares. Waking up in the night and listening to see can I hear anybody else? Has everybody in the house been raptured and I've been left behind? Because I never felt ready. I don't know. I'm sure there's lots of people have that experience, but certainly as a young child, I had no idea what it even meant to be ready. Ready for what?
Yeah, of course. How are you supposed to know that?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I
that's-
went